Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I know, not a great start, is it? But it's true. I'm done hurting people. Just want to explain. Have you had an argument with anybody and thought of the best comeback, the most brilliant put down about 6 hours later? Well, that's how it started. I was getting off the tube about 8:30 one morning, and getting off the tube is a simple process, isn't it? People stand aside, let people off before they get on. But every now and then, some absolute arsehole barges on before people have had the chance to get off. And this particular morning, the absolute arsehole was this plump little man with a moustache, wearing overalls and carrying a toolbox. So we faced each other in the doorway, him staring at me with his piggy little eyes, tiny they were. I mean, I shouldn't be that small. And he says to me, "Come on, darling, I ain't got all day." And the sheer audacity of it just struck me dumb. I couldn't think what to say. I could see all the commuters were looking over at me and staring, and I was thinking I desperately needed a response, and it didn't have to be funny, didn't have to be clever, but anything, any kind of insult, but nothing. My mind was completely and utterly blank. And then I thought to myself, God, I wish I could stop time. And then for some reason, I clicked my fingers and everything stopped. No engine noise from the train, no tannoy, no voices. It was like a video on pause. The little man was still staring at me, but he wasn't blinking. I waved my hand in front of his face, nothing. There was a bead of sweat on his forehead, suspended in the act of rolling down. I looked round the carriage and there's a woman halfway getting up between sitting and standing. She was frozen. And a guy drinking his coffee, but the coffee cup was tilted practically vertical with nothing coming out. My watch was still. I had stopped time. Now, at this point, some people might panic, think they were hallucinating, click the fingers, try and make it all go away. Others might take advantage, rob a bank. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't take advantage, that came later. But at the time, it all just seemed perfectly natural. And the little man with the moustache and the toolbox, I thought, find a weakness. That's it, find a weakness, any weakness. And then I had it. All I needed was time. So I took a deep breath, clicked my fingers, and it was like someone had pressed play. The woman stood up, the man drank his coffee, and the little bead of sweat rolled down the man's face. And I leaned in close to him and I went, "Fuck you, Super Mario." And then I barged past him, listening to all the commuters laughing as I swanned off down the platform, grinning. I didn't click my fingers for a while after that. Not until my little Carrie, who was 6 years old, was eating a dinner. And I could just see out of the corner of my eye that her plate was just that little bit too close to the edge. And I knew what's going to happen, like you sometimes do. And she turned to say something and her elbow just hit the edge of the plate and spaghetti hoops went flying into the air. So I clicked my fingers. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried cleaning up mid-air spaghetti hoops. It's not really less irritating than floor spaghetti hoops, only you just don't have to contend with the stains. And as I plucked pasta out the air, I could see Carrie's little face was in this surprised O shape. And when I put the plate back on the table, I clicked my fingers and I kissed her forehead and I said, "Don't worry, Mummy fixed it." Oh, they were the best times. I was careful back then. Well, I'd seen Spider-Man. I know what comes with great power. Not saying I didn't use it to my advantage. Running late for a meeting, click, all the time in the world. Bad date, click, time to run away. Oh, not enough sleep, click, nap time. But mostly, I used it for the little moments. Life is made up of moments, billions of them, and some of them you could take or leave, but some you can treasure beyond worlds. And if you're lucky, you get a handful, maybe more. Makes all the humdrum seconds seem worthwhile. You wish you could relive them over and over again. But that's not how moments work, is it? They're here, and then they're not. by clicking, it meant that I could watch Carrie open her Christmas presents or blow out her birthday candles for hours on end, stare at her for days and days. It was the gift that kept on giving. I didn't make much money, and Carrie seemed to outgrow clothes every week. I couldn't work out how to use my power to make money. I mean, I couldn't see into the future. I couldn't rewind time. I could only stop it. So it's not like I could win the lottery or anything. I'd almost given up on the idea when one day I was in the shop buying milk. And when the cashier opened the till, I clicked my fingers. I grabbed a wad of notes and I didn't click them again until I got home. The Great Vanishing Robbery, the local papers called it. Oh, when I read that, I felt sick. I went back the next day, clicked my fingers and put the money back. Well, most. Well, me and my girl had to eat. Then the fun became addictive. When I get blind drunk at 11 a.m, click. Loads of time to sober up. Eat 12 Krispy Kremes for breakfast, click. Loads of time to work off the calories. See a fine looking man on the tube, click. Time to make a mental picture. Maybe a cheeky feel. Maybe more. And at the time I'd have told you it was some sort of irresistible force and that I was powerless to stop it. But if I'm honest, that wasn't true. I could have stopped any time. I just didn't want to. Well, the reason was Carrie. No parent wants their child to grow up. I found myself clicking more and more, stroking her hair as she slept, frozen in stasis for days on end, willing her not to grow old. I remember looking in the mirror one morning, 10 real years after Super Mario. I had a few more lines, maybe nothing drastic. But I had the eyes of someone who had lived too long, had too many moments. But I still needed more. See a necklace on some tacky bitch, click. Looks better on me. Neighbours blasting music out at 3 a.m, click. Smash the speakers and the fucking faces to pieces. Oh, catcalled by builders, click. Put them on the backs, pour concrete down the throats. The sound of my fingers clicking was sometimes the last thing people heard. And then Carrie got her A-levels. And she was so excited to move to university on the other side of the country. Thought about clicking my fingers one final time. Keeping her with me. Just me and my little girl. Silent and still in our own world to the end of the universe. But you have to let them go, don't you? So, I fought back my tears and I hugged my baby and I promised I would never click again. Well, people beginning to talk. On the day she was leaving for uni, Carrie was putting the last box in the boot. And as I locked the front door, I turned to see her step into the road. And I knew what was going to happen. Like you sometimes do. And out the corner of my eye, I just saw a flash of white and a screech of brakes. So I clicked my fingers, but it was too late. So I can't see into the future. I couldn't rewind time, I could only stop it. And a moment when it really mattered, and it stopped it quick enough. Couldn't look. Not at first. But it got easier with time. I remember crying and saying, "Don't worry, Mummy will fix it." And I don't know how long I stood there for before I clicked my fingers again. Years. That's how long it took to say goodbye. And I haven't clicked my fingers since. Not until today. Because what's the point? What's the point of stopping time if there's no one to stop it for? But once more, just today, I had to tell someone. But don't worry, you won't remember. You'll be fine. I'll go, I'll click my fingers, and it'll be like it never even happened. It's just a moment, and it'll pass. Like all the others.